beast stalker, giant stalker, dragon stalker, crypt stalker, demon stalker, rift stalker, grown stalker, crypt stalker, scourge stalker, wind runner. I'm a pony, elite skill hunter, a death dealer, a life stealer. That's just the cost of being awesome.
Welcome to episode 240 of the Hunting Party Podcast. I'm Darkbrew from thebrewhall.com and the Brew Hall on Twitter.
And I'm Bendak from Eyes of the Beast, Blizzard Watch, and Bendak WoW on Twitter.
All right. Today is Sunday, June the 26th, 2016, and we are broadcasting live on twitch.tv. You can participate in the live chat room where our lovely moderator, Ali Sonder, is there to take your questions. Delirium is out this week, but we hope to get him back next time. So, but we still have a pretty good show. Some good things to talk about today. No real announcements other than to say that thanks to you, Bendak, I am finally in the Legion beta and had a chance to play around with that this past week a little bit here. It was, it's beta, so as you would expect, there were a lot of few updates that came across, and I had a lot of server crashes and just a hard time getting up and running initially, but was able to tinker around and get through the initial Broken Shores event and kind of make my way out to the Broken Isles. Did the artifact quest, did my first one of those, and kind of went from there. So far so good. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, what did you think of the whole Titan Strike thing, going to Alduar and all that?
Yeah, see, I like that. A lot of it initially too just felt very kind of nostalgic too. I mean, I thought there was I don't want to give too much away what's going on with the story wise, but early on, even with the event, the initial event, I guess that will come with a pre-patch with the whole Broken Shores scenario, which I don't know that it's made its way to the PTR yet, but it is in the beta. But I mean, for Alliance side, you start out in Stormwind, which was kind of fun, and you were flying a little bit around the Eastern Kingdoms a little bit, making your way to ultimately Dalaran, and just being in Dalaran again and having it be relevant was a lot of fun to me. I kind of like that as a capital city back in Wrath of the Lich King. So it was just fun being back in that city and seeing some of the old NPCs there and just seeing players there. I mean, it's just got a good feeling just from being in Dalaran itself. And I don't know if you felt that way at all.
Oh yeah, I think that might be my favorite capital city ever, so I have no problems with them reusing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same here, and it's they've changed things a little bit, but for the most part, it's still the same old Dalaran, which is nice. And then, as you said, that I did choose Beast Mastery, and I did go with the Titan Strike quest line to start, and that was a lot of fun. It was fun going back to Ulduar and even being in just that zone, not just in Ulduar, but in Storm Peaks as well, doing some stuff out there. So I'll be curious to see what the other two quest chains are like. Have you done all three at this point now?
Yeah, I think the Beast Mastery one is my favorite, but the other ones are all right too. Yeah. They're the Beast Mastery one just feels, I guess it's just more nostalgic. The other ones are in new areas.
Yeah, the one from marksmanship, I mean, from just a story perspective, from the lore there, is the one I'm probably most curious about, just because some of the people that it involves. But like I said, I look forward to doing the Beast Mastery more so. So I did get that out of the way, and I guess maybe we can talk about that. Maybe we'll scroll down here a little bit and talk a little bit about the artifact weapon, because one of the things that I sort of hit me when I first picked the quest up in general, you had to make this choice. Which one did you want to go for? And realizing that it's completely tied to your specialization. So Beast Mastery, Marksmanship, and of course Survival. So I chose Beast Mastery. And it's this time around, it just feels like it's a much bigger decision than what we've had to make in the past. And that we're going to have this weapon throughout the entire expansion, and we'll be upgrading it as we go along. But by the same token, we have 3 specs to play, and from usually, mostly from a rating perspective, it just seems that, rarely do you just stick with one single spec throughout an entire expansion. And if that holds true this time around, we're going to have to not only get a second or third artifact weapon, but we're going to have to keep those updated as well. And I didn't know if you had any concerns about that, maintaining more than one artifact weapon throughout this upcoming expansion.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's, sorry if you hear that in the background, that's rain on the window. But for me, it's just getting like the artifact power that you have to grind out is like, I don't know, just I don't see myself maintaining multiple artifacts this expansion just because of the artifact power and the relics. So like, as a hunter, I'm used to having one weapon and it being useful for all three of my specs, and now that's no longer the case. Like, you can't even take your relics from the other one and slot them into another one. I don't know. It's, for me personally, I'm gonna have to just, I think it's gonna be Beast Mastery, but I'm just gonna have to take a long hard look and pick one, I think.
Yeah, and that's exactly, I think that's the same boat that all the hunters are in, and I'm feeling the same way, where I'm more comfortable with Beast Mastery and looking forward to that. And that's just probably where I'm going to hang my hat. But they're still doing tuning of all the specializations, so we don't really know, I think, DPS wise, where things stand. The folks over at Ask Mr. Robot, and we'll have them on in an upcoming show. I just need to settle that down, but they've created a brand new simulation for Legion, and I know they've been starting to. I think they've got like at least a version of it out to play around with, and I have not had a chance to look at it, but it looks pretty involved. It looks like it's going to be pretty good, and that may be just sort of the go-to tool that folks go to do your simulations this time around. But have you had a chance to look at their tool at all? Have you played around with it to get a sense of where the specs are right now?
I played around with it a bit. It looks pretty neat. It'd be nice to have a replacement for the old femaledwarf.com. I really missed that tool. It's because it was just a lot simpler to just go on a website rather than dealing with simulation craft. They both have their uses, but it's so much more convenient. I played around with it a bit. I don't fully understand it all yet, but it looks pretty powerful. So, I've also been playing around with simulation craft. That's still in the early stages. It's still too early to say what spec is going to be more DPS, but and plus a lot of the stuff just isn't implemented yet, like trinkets and set bonuses and all that stuff.
Right. So, the good news is there will be multiple simulation tools to kind of pick from, which I think is great. But like I said before, I think they're just really getting into the tuning phase. I don't expect to see a lot of huge sort of mechanical changes, if you will, to hunters at this point. I think they're pretty much settled. And, I think it's going to come down to how close do these specs parse out DPS wise, and maybe outside of mythic rating it won't matter as much. But I'd love to talk to Roger at some point and get his sense of what is he thinking. Is he going to be trying to maintain 1, 2, if not 3 artifact weapons, or what the high end raiders are going to be planning to do? But I think it'll be tough to do. And so, like you said, right now I'm thinking about Beast Mastery. I'll certainly get the other artifact weapons, if for no other reason than just to do those quest lines. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see, because I don't think we've had expansions where the specs have been close, but there's always one that just usually comes out slightly ahead, and I don't think we know what it's going to be. And I sort of view survival as kind of being it's a real outlier, though. That's sort of going to be, you're either going to like playing, if you like playing melee, maybe you'll play it, but I don't see hunters kind of planning on playing that regularly if they don't like melee. I don't think I'll do too much with survival.
I don't think so either. I don't think anyone's gonna go, oh, survival's doing 5% more DPS, I'm gonna go melee. I just don't see that happening. But I also don't see, I think a lot of people this expansion will there'll be less like flavor of the month spec switching, I guess, because it's just so much of an effort to switch to get. It depends how big the gap is, of course. Like if there's like a 20% gap God forbid, between beast mastery and
gosh.
marksmanship, then yeah, people are going to do it. But if it's just 5%, it's not going to bother me personally. I'm just going to be like, I'll just like, so say marksmanship does 5% better on single target. Well, beast mastery will still probably do well on like multi-target. So I'd rather just focus on the strengths of the spec that I chose than worry about that now. Especially like just because it's so hard to switch now.
Yeah, especially because it's such a switching specs, and they've made the talent swapping, more complicated this time around and harder to do. I mean, I've run into that where I've just sort of been out in the field and like, you can't switch talents, and it's like, it gets frustrating.
Yeah, you have to go to a rested area, or if you zone into a dungeon, it lets you do it right at the start of the dungeon.
But that's going to take some getting used to. Even for me, I know Beast Mastery maybe has changed the least out of the specs, but it's still changed enough that it feels very different to me. I mean, there's a lot of I'm still not 100% used to it. But once I play with it some more, in fact, if you guys are out there listening and if you're not in the beta, I certainly encourage you to go and download the PTR and try and get on there, because it basically has all of the class changes at this point, and you can try marksmanship, beast mastery, and survival, and start playing around with that and getting used to the changes, because there's a small bit of I found that there was a bit of a learning curve again, just even for beast mastery, and getting used to figuring out some of the rotations and things.
Yeah, there definitely is. It's I think the biggest learning curve for me was just learning not to. I'm so used to spamming buttons, and you don't do that. You don't do that anymore. So for me at the start, I would keep spamming Cobra Shot, and I'd run out of focus. And now I just have to realize that I probably you shouldn't really use Cobra Shot unless you're almost capped, really. Like, it's kind of you just have to sit there a lot. If you take certain talents, there's less waiting around, but there's always going to be some.
I'm finding that too, and like you said, same thing. I'm used to Cobra Shot being a casted ability, but B, just being able to cast that when I need focus. The other thing that I'm taking some getting used to is with Bestial Wrath, which you no longer get that focus discount. And I've got to think about that a little bit, because I hit Bestial Wrath and I'm ready to just go to town, knowing that I'm going to be able to have all this focus and fire all these shots, and that's just simply not the case right now.
Yeah, one thing I find helpful is to save your aspect of the wild for when you use Bestial Wrath. You can only use it every second or third Bestial Wrath, but it gives you all that extra focus, so it's sort of like the same thing, but not quite.
Right. And that's a good ability, but that too is also that's on a 2-minute cooldown, so you're not going to get that every time.
That's what I mean. Every second or third Bestial Wrath, you'll get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you won't have it all the time, but that is a useful thing to do.
Yeah, and just make sure you go into Bestial Wrath with the full focus bar and all that stuff. Just so you can take advantage of it. And there's some other stuff to worry about too, like since Dire Beasts were just a cooldown, you don't want to like waste that cooldown reduction. You want to, if they're both available, you want to use the Bestial Wrath first, so that the next Dire Beast will actually reduce cooldown. So that was another thing I always ran into, where I'd hit it in the wrong order, and then I'd just lose that 15 seconds. But you do get used to it. Yeah.
That's a good point. That's a good point about the sequence there with Dire Beast and Bestial Wrath. And the other thing to get used to too is not having, whereas Cobra Shot, if you need focus, you can just, pop a Cobra Shot today and regen some focus, and that's just simply not the case. You don't have a lot of control over that this time around. So as you said, you just can't, you've got to watch your focus, you got to manage it, you just can't go crazy with the Cobra Shots and just keep going wild with that, because like you said, you'll definitely run into focus issues if you do that.
Yep.
But beyond that, I like it. I mean, I've played a little bit with marksmanship. Like I said, I didn't get a lot of time on it this week, but that feels different too. I like Sidewinders. I think I'm enjoying that, but I'm not sure about the rest of that spec. So
I'm the same with marksmanship. I only really like it with the Sidewinder's talent. And there's another talent too that automatically puts all 3 stacks on when you use Sidewinders. I forget what it's called, but that combination, I don't know. I just find it kind of clunky without it. It's just you're always chasing hunters marks and procs and stuff. It feels like I'm always chasing something. I just don't like that feeling.
So, yeah, I'm gonna give marksmanship a good run here, and but I'm leaning towards beast mastery, I think, and I've always enjoyed that as a spec, and there's enough there to make me want to go back out there, and I think I'll enjoy it. The dual pets, it's fun. I like having all those pets out there. That's a lot of fun. They kind of changed Bestial Wrath's animation a little bit, or maybe it's just my settings, but it's almost like seems a little less like Big Red Pet, and it's almost like Big Orange Pet.
Yeah, it's orange now for sure. I don't know why they did that, because it's so iconic to have a Big Red Pet.
It is. I've heard some people say they like it. I mean, obviously it's just going to be, personal preference, but it just seems a little odd to me. I prefer Big Red over Big Orange, but yeah, it is definitely Big Orange Pet right now.
I don't mind the effect itself. I'd rather it be red than orange.
I agree.
Maybe they can add a glyph or something for that to get the classic Bestial Wrath.
Yeah, that would be nice. That would be nice. But speaking of pets, so last week we went over a lot of new pet stuff, and this week you discovered some more changes to pets that I think worth talking over. So Mana Sabers are a little bit different now than what they were. They were their own pet family before, and now I believe you found that they're spirit beasts. Is that right?
Yeah, that's the latest build. They're spirit beasts. There was no patch notes or any mention of that, so I mean, I assume it's intentional though, because I mean, I don't know how that would be a mistake, but yeah, they're spirit beasts now.
And I think we sort of talked about that a little bit last time, and given that they were cats and a lot of the spirit beasts were cats, that it just didn't make sense for them to be their own family. I mean, it wasn't clear, what purpose that served. So spirit beast is fine. I mean, they were exotic before. Is that right? Right. Yeah. So
right.
This doesn't change that any. So you still have to be beast mastery to get them.
Right.
But as you pointed out, they're not rare, correct? So these are just like sort of walk up and tame one if you want.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Should make him the first spirit beast that is just a walk up and tame. Because all the other ones are either rare spawns, challenge tames, or something like Gara.
So that is unusual. And then there's 3 different colors. There's a blue, indigo, and purple, and they look great. I mean, I'm definitely. Yep. I really want all 3. I don't know that I'll be able to make room for all 3. So, so it might be one of those things where if they don't change them and they make them so they aren't rare spawns, then there's kind of a throwaway pet. So you could just get one whenever you feel like it, and then dump it when you don't feel like having it. But they are very cool looking pets.
Yeah, you can have a really neat little combination if you have one of each color for your main pet and Hottie, and then you get the Mystic Runesaber mount. It looks pretty cool.
So yeah, I look forward to getting one of those. And then they made some changes to core hounds too. Why don't you talk about what they did there?
Yeah, basically they just back at the start of Warlords when they had the 10th anniversary event, and you got the core hound mount. That core hound was just like a much nicer looking core hound. It had like updated graphics and everything. So they just gave those updated graphics to the regular core hounds, and they have new effects and sharper textures. They just look a lot better. It only applies to the orange, green, and the yellow core hound, not Chromagus or the white one.
And that would make sense too, right? I mean, I guess unless they wanted to update the visuals for that, but those 2 were very visually distinct, as it were. So
yeah,
can understand why they wouldn't want to change those. So that's good. I don't think people. I saw a couple of images of them. Yeah, they look nice. They look a little beefier. They look a little meaner. I like the change.
Yep.
And then oh, talk about the crabs. This was hilarious.
Yeah, so there's a rare mob in Suramar called Shank, and if you kill him, he drops an item called the Crabshank. And if you summon a crab pet, like a crab hunter pet, not a battle pet, and target it and use the Crabshank, it gives your crab a giant knife. And it's just ridiculous, but it's awesome. I don't know.
It's
There's like no,
hilarious.
yeah. It's a reference to like some viral video of a crab with a big blue knife, and I don't know what else to say. It's just pretty awesome.
Yeah, and I've seen that video. You can go on YouTube, and it was something that I can't remember when the video was first released, but it was one of those things that went viral. So this is as you say, a reference to that, and I think that's fun. So Glacier Wolf is asking if it's permanent. The item I believe is permanent.
It is.
But
It gives you a 1 hour buff on the pet, and it has a 5 minute cooldown, so you can keep it up all the time.
so the answer is yes. Effectively, you could do that. You just have to remember to reapply it. But yeah, that's fun, and it works with all the crab pets, I guess. Any crab pet. So
Everyone but Ghostcrawler.
right, because he's a spirit
Unfortunately,
beast.
yeah, it just goes based off the pet family.
Mm-hmm.
Though I think for Ghostcrawler, if they could somehow make it work for Ghostcrawler, it should turn into like a Nerf bat instead. But yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. I don't know who. Well, so whoever came up with that idea, that's great. That's a nice little thing. So, but now it's just an item though, so you'll have to carry it around in your bags, right? It's not going to be. I guess they couldn't make it a toy.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did make it a toy, because some of the stuff they've made a toy this expansion opens it up. I mean, right now it's an item, but I won't be surprised if it turns into a toy.
Yeah, and Glacier Wolf saying it should be a toy. Yeah, I agree that it should be a toy, but I don't know. I'm only maybe it's not. Maybe there are other things like this, but since it's really a hunter only thing, does that give hunters like one extra toy towards their achievement counts and things like that? But maybe not. Maybe it's not a big deal.
Yeah, I don't know. There are some class specific toys. There's I don't know if you saw the one in True Shot Lodge that you can buy. I forget what it's called, but it just summons little critters to follow you around.
Oh, cool. Yeah, and Glacier Wolf's also saying that there are engineering only toys. So yeah, I guess it wouldn't be unprecedented then if you had, little one-offs like this, the toys that just apply to a certain class or profession or something like that. So I guess that would be fine. Yeah, it's the kind, and maybe it will become a toy, right? This is just,
Yeah.
They seem to be doing a pass on what is and is not a toy at this point.
Yeah, and it appears to be a 100% drop rate, so you can just go up and kill them, and you should get it. And it's kind of fun. It makes me want to use crab pets now, just because of how ridiculous it looks.
Well, I was going to say that too, right? Because I have one or two crabs, I guess, but I hardly ever use them, and including that that real shiny one. Was it Skarkin? I can't forget his name, but
yeah.
But him, I've got him, but I don't really ever use him. But I might do that if I can give him stick a knife in his hand, put a little blade in there for him to fight with. So that is a lot of fun. So what else? Why don't we talk about professions a little bit? There was a big developer Q&A that dealt with professions. And there's some things here that I think that you noted here that would be worth applying to hunters, specifically a couple professions, engineering and leatherworking. So I think you saw that the blood of Sargeras is the new BOP mat you said is going to be used in most recipes.
Yeah.
And
it's it's like the rare mat that most recipes will use. You can, like, gatherers have a rare chance of getting it from mining nodes and herb nodes, and skinning and all that stuff. People who have two crafting professions, they'll have to get it other ways, like world quests and dungeon bosses and stuff like that. So if you have one gathering and one crafting profession, you might have bit of an advantage for at least at the beginning. I don't know, but they kind of emphasized in the Q&A that they don't want you to have to drop one of your professions to pick up a gatherer profession.
Mm-hmm.
They would rather have gathering professions just be. I mean, they want you to want to be a gatherer, but they don't want you to feel like it's required. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense, and I think that would be good. Like I know I have both engineering and leatherworking on Darkbrew on my main. On alts I have others, but obviously if it's going to be BOP, then that does become problematic. And I mean, honestly, and I think I even want to say I picked up leatherworking, for example, just for warlords or Draenor even. So I mean, I've often going into one expansion or another have kind of swapped out professions, but I prefer not to have to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I am double crafting right now with engineering and leatherworking.
Yeah, so am I, and I don't think I plan on dropping either of those. So I'm just gonna have to. I mean, it's a good thing I've been saving gold because I'll be spending a lot.
Right. Although you mentioned too, I mean, when you talk about not wanting to drop those, certainly with leatherworking, I mean, some of the changes are there's no longer going to be a limit on the crafted armor pieces that you can wear at one time, so which is nice. And I think we also have a note here that says that the crafted armor stat starts at 800 item level 815 and can be upgraded to 850 in 5 level increments. So I was always at the beginning of expansion. That's usually pretty good. Do you know if there's recipes like to customize the stats on it like we could in Warlords of Draenor? Are they going to continue that?
No, this time you get random stats when you craft it and you can't re-roll it. But
Okay,
but if part of the system is you want to be destroying crafted gear anyway, because that's how you get obliterum, and that is what you use to upgrade the pieces. So say you craft like 10 mail chest pieces, you pick the one that has the stats you want, and then you destroy the other 9 to get obliterum.
Okay.
Or sell them, or whatever.
Well, that makes sense, and that's actually I think that may be pretty decent then. I guess it sort of depends on how hard it is to make some of these armor pieces, though I assume you're going to need that blood of Sargeras will probably be necessary to craft all those armor pieces that you want.
Yeah, you need two to 3 depending on the piece. So knowing that, then you go to engineering and the Mecha Bond imprint matrix, which is what you need to be able to tame mechanical pets if you're not a gnome or a goblin. To craft one of those, it costs 20 bloods. So it's 10 pieces of armor. And the recipe for the imprint matrix is also pretty rare. So I think in the first few weeks, like this thing is going to be super expensive. Because you're going to have to an engineer is going to sell this, is going to sell it and not be able to make themselves armor or something else. Because they use the bloods to make this thing. So it'll be expensive.
Yeah, that'll be interesting too. And of course, you're going to want to have that as a hunter, especially just to be able to not only just tame those pets, but that some of those mechanical pets are taming challenges and little puzzles and things like that we've talked about. So it'd be fun to do, right? So you're kind of, if you don't get that, you're locking yourself out of some content specific to hunters there. So you absolutely want to be able to have that ability. So, but it sounds like unless you're a gnome or a goblin, you're not going to be able to do that right out of the gate here. So might be a while before you seek that out.
Yeah, it's not like you can have like an engineering alt or something like that. Like something like you'd have in Warlords where you'd have these profession alts. You can't do that now because the material's BOP. So you'd be taking away from crafting armor or something else to be able to make it. So like even myself, like I'm wondering I don't even know if I'd make it myself right away just because I'd want to make the armor first,
Well, exactly. That's what I'm thinking too. I'd probably prefer to make the armor. I mean, I guess you could. I mean, the armor pieces are they BOE? I assume
Yeah,
they're BOE. So
yeah.
I suppose I could take one of my alts who has leatherworking and skinning, get them leveled up to the point and use that character to craft the armor pieces,
You
and then
could, but
just
you'd also have to play that character relatively
yes,
seriously
yep,
because you have to collect all those bloods. You can't send them over or anything or buy them.
right. No, exactly. That is the downside is you would have to be actively engaged with that character, leveling them up almost as and spending as much time on that character as I would my main character. Yeah, and I don't know if I want to do that, but it is an option, I suppose.
But if you're say something like a miner and engineer, I mean, you could probably make a lot of gold
Hmm.
selling these things to hunters because the engineer doesn't really have much to craft in terms of like items like armor. There's the goggles, but besides the goggles, there's like one weapon relic, and that's really it in terms of power items.
Hmm.
So so people who are in those situations will be able to take advantage of it and get lots of gold probably.
Right. Yeah. So there's no weapon, like there's no scopes this time around, um, and there's no new gun to
Yep.
craft either, which makes sense, right? Because of the artifact weapon. Why would they toss in
Yep.
a engineering gun that you just aren't going to use, other than for transmog purposes, right? That would really be its only value.
Yeah, you can craft, like I said, you can craft a weapon relic, but it's not a replacement for a weapon. It's because
Hmm.
it's one of three relics that you're gonna have in your weapon. So um, and yeah, like I said, there's just the goggles, which are now they're actually like head guns. They have like little guns on them. That's pretty funny.
I always liked having the goggles of some kind, but yeah, it'd be interesting. So yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm inclined to stick with the engineering and leatherworking, and not drop either one. Just because it's a pain to have to level up a gathering profession, um, which I don't necessarily feel like doing. Although I mean, obviously you can do it, with the current whatever the current level nodes and things you could mine, current ore and or skin mobs, and you don't get as much materials, but at least you can use them to level up and not have to go through that all the hassle of going back into the old low level zones and just level up that way. That's all out the window now, which is great.
Yeah, I think as long as you're willing to do a lot of world quests and stuff like that, you
Hmm.
should be able to get enough bloods to make what you want. It's just it won't be as like free flowing as if you had a craft gathering profession. I mean, it's the gathering profession does need like some perks, so I guess it's one of them.
Yes, and then who knew? I guess initially, well, maybe I'm wondering too if they'll eventually change that material and make it BOE at some point before the later in the expansion as a way to help catch up, or they may not. Maybe it'll just stay that. Maybe that will be the crafting material, right, throughout the whole
Yeah.
expansion.
I don't think they will because you also have to use those bloods for the obliterum stuff
Hmm.
to upgrade gear. So and they said they're also going to look into other ways for people who have too many bloods to do something with them. So it'll probably stay BOP.
And then, what's the item level then for the gear that's coming out of the dungeons and the raids? I mean, is this crafted gear going to be on par with that? Better than that?
I want to say that the crafted gear it starts off at heroic dungeon level, and then it goes up to uh, normal. 850 is the max, and that is the
Hmm.
same as normal rating for I think
Okay.
for the second raid, I think. So but they also hinted at that in future patches they will let you upgrade it beyond that, just like they
Beyond
did.
that?
in Warlords. Yeah. So yeah, you can get like, if you work at it, you can get a lot of pieces of normal raid quality from crafting. Um, Obviously, you won't get like the set bonuses and stuff like that, but it is
No,
nice
that's
to be
true.
able to. It is nice to be able to fill things in, especially if you're unlucky.
Yeah, and especially if you can get the stats exactly um, to where you want them. I think that's something that's helpful too. Although I mean, we won't get any set bonuses right until the second
Second,
raid
right?
opens up. So I think initially this gear might be pretty good to if you can craft a bunch of it. You could be in a pretty good position. Although I think once you start raiding, whether it's normal or heroic or whatever, you tend to get the gear much faster that way. And if your raid team is in a position where you're actually not struggling and killing stuff, there's not as much incentive to work as hard to craft a whole bunch of pieces, unless you really get unlucky somewhere with a particular piece.
Yeah.
So that's good. So I mean, I guess I'll probably stick with my professions just because I really don't feel like it's just one less thing to have to level once the expansion hits. So I don't know when it was. It was before the last show. There was the Blizzard developers had talked about their talent philosophy in Legion, and there was some interesting stuff there. I thought maybe we could go over a few of the points and maybe look at Beast Mastery or something like that, and just kind of see if they've met their goals with their talents. But I won't read the entire post. It was rather lengthy, but some of the highlights were that what they wanted to do was provide more meaningful choice than before when it came to talents, and customizing your gameplay to suit your tastes. And they were moving away from talent rows that contained three flavors of the same thing, and they were saying there was no hard and fast rules to what make a good talent row or talent tree. And they said they didn't want to go back to a world where a talent row is about picking which slightly different flavor AoE you want, and they were sort of mixing generally useful talents versus specialized talents. And then they said, well, not every talent row is equally valuable, or nor is it intended to be. And maybe if we look at Beast Mastery, how do you think the talent tree came out? And do you think they kind of met those goals there with those particular talents?
One, I guess I could say for Beast Mastery, the level 30 tier, I think is pretty good. I think all three are pretty good choices, and they all have different uses, and people are going to like them just because of the different styles they offer. So I think they succeeded there.
And just to refresh real quick,
so, yeah.
And the talents on level 30, you've got Stomp, which is when your Dire Beasts charge in, they will stomp the ground, dealing physical damage to all nearby enemies. So that's an AoE. You had Dire Frenzy, which replaces Dire Beast actually, and causes your pet to enter a frenzy, performing a flurry of 5 attacks on the target and gaining a 30% increased attack speed for 8 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. So basically, whatever, instead of having a bunch of beasts from Dire Beast, everything, it's just going to be your pet doing all the work. And then the third one was Chimera Shot, which actually will help generate some focus, and it pretty much functions the way it does now. It's a 2-headed shot that hits your primary and another target for nature and frost damage.
Right. And all three of those are pretty nice. And I use them all like extensively, like leveling up a couple times and doing dungeons and stuff like that. What I like about Stomp is just it turns your Dire Beast to like a weapon. It's just really cool to have them charge in and deal a bunch of damage right at once.
And it's passive too, so you don't have enough. So that's one less button you would have to push if you take Stomp, which is something to think about.
Yep. And Dire Frenzy is, well, it's just takes your Dire Beast damage and gives it to your pet basically, and then it generates a little bit more focused than Dire Beast, and that's also instant. So it's just and the attack speed buff. It has other. It also does other things like when you consider like Beast Cleave. So if you use Dire Frenzy when you're Beast Cleaving, your Beast Cleave is going to do a lot more damage because of that attack speed. And then Chimera Shot is just that's just like the go-to. Like if you're confused on what to go, just pick Chimera Shot because it's just like it's nice having another shot like because it reduces downtime. It just gives you another button to press and extra focus, and it's not necessarily more damage now like it used to be, but not anymore. But it's just all three are relatively balanced right now, which is kind of surprising.
Right.
So
And I believe,
certainly.
yeah, and Chimera Shot doesn't cost any focus either. I believe.
Right.
So something to take into consideration there.
And as for a tier that I thought isn't very well is level 45, which you have Post Haste, Far Strider, and Dash. Post Haste is what you know it is today. You disengage and get a movement speed buff. Far Strider, your ability critical strikes have a 10% chance to reset the cooldown of disengage or harpoon if you're survival. So that thing is just like totally unreliable. Like when would you even ever use that? Because you can't rely like disengage's got a 20-second cooldown, and so sometime in that 20 seconds you have to hope that one of your critical strikes has a 10% chance to reset the cooldown. So you get a cooldown reset. That's great, but it's not like you can rely on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And I think you'd be inclined to, yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. It's like, so you can't really plan around that occurring,
Yeah, so early in the alpha, this talent used to give disengage a second charge, which is so much better. That was a good alternative to post haste, I thought. But anyway, and then the last one is dash, which increases the duration of aspect of the cheetah by 3 seconds. Yeah. So aspect of the cheetah has a 3-minute cooldown. Gives you a speed boost for like 12 seconds in total or something. So I don't know. I mean, it's just bad. I don't know what else to say. I don't know what you think of these.
No, I'm with you. I mean, I chose post haste pretty quickly, and didn't really look back on that. It was just like, yep, post haste. It just seemed like the sort of an obvious choice there. So yeah, and not a great tier overall. But I mean, that 60% movement speed is helpful. Especially in a raid. I mean, if you disengage, to get away from something, and you want to move back to where you were or something, it just gives you that little movement speed to get around. Sometimes I'll just, sometimes you pop it just to have that 60% movement speed, to travel somewhere.
Yep. And then you said one of the things they talked about was they wanted the talent, each talent tier to not just be 3 AoE talents or whatever.
Right.
I guess they did succeed in that in a lot of places. It's just the problem is a lot of the choices aren't that great. Like in level 60, the one with the pack is just really bad. It grants your wild call a 10% increased chance to reset the cooldown of Dire Beast, and it's already rare enough that using this talent, like, so yeah, if you run a simulation, you're gonna, I have 2.2 more Dire Beasts or something.
Right.
But when you're playing the game and you have this talent, it's just not noticeable at all. So I see where they're going with it because it's a totally different. It's like an extra proc instant compared to the other talents, which is like Blink Strikes or Bestial Fury, which is just raw damage. So the 3 talents in this tier they're good because they're so different and they have different purposes, but that doesn't matter if like 1 or 2 of them are just garbage.
Right.
Sorry. Yeah.
Bestial Fury is certainly a good choice, right? I mean, because like you said, you're getting that increased damage. I mean, and where's Blink Strike? I mean, that at one point in time was actually kind of a nice talent, but you're suggesting that it doesn't really compare at this point.
Oh, Blink Strikes is still decent. It's just in terms of raw numbers, I find Beast of Fury
Yeah.
is a lot better right now. I mean, I'm sure
Yeah.
Blink Strikes will see some use to in, I don't know, maybe PvP or just, I don't know. Some people just like having the pet mobility too. It's not like a bad choice. It's just raw throughput. It's not the best, which makes sense because it also has the blinking.
Yeah, yeah. And one with the pack is one that I want to like, and
Yeah.
I played around with it a little bit, but like I said, I don't really notice that I'm getting a lot of extra dire beasts out of it necessarily. Um, having it come off cooldown. And I was also trying to look at it from the standpoint, well, all right, if I get this thing resetting the cooldown, is that going to help with any focus issues with beast mastery? I'm not sure that it makes that big of a difference right now.
Well, the other problem with one with the pack is it just emphasizes another problem with Dire Beast and the whole mechanic of resetting the cooldown, which is a lot of the time when it resets, it only has like a couple seconds left. So it happens, and you're just like, whoop-de-doo. It's like, wow, I saved 2 seconds.
Right.
So if Dire Beast, if the cooldown reset did something else, like for instance, when it reset the cooldown, it gave you a second charge of Dire Beast, so that you would always get to use it. Then this talent might be a little better, But,
right. And then you also have to take into consideration what we talked about earlier. Depending on where Bestial Wrath is in the thing, even though you've reset the cooldown on Dire Beast, you may not want to pop it right away because you might want to wait. Your Bestial Wrath may be in a second or two of coming off cooldown potentially, and you might want to wait.
Yeah.
To pop that to take advantage of the synergy that exists there. So,
what did you think of the new Stampede?
I like it. I like the fact that it spawns some cool looking random pets, and I just like seeing them just kind of go boom, 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 streaking off towards the target. I like it that side. But I'm trying to think, it doesn't follow the target though. It goes to if the target moves, is that, I haven't really experienced that yet, but I'm just wondering if the target moves, if that's going to be a problem. Are you going to miss out on Stampede at all?
Oh yeah, you'll definitely miss out.
So it does. So I mean, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't. It just kind of.
It is.
Doesn't.
I mean,
it doesn't really attach itself to the target per se. Like, I mean, it's like they sort of go to wherever the target was when you called the ability.
Not even that. They go to where your character was facing when you cast it.
Oh, I missed that entirely. I apologize.
Yeah. So if you were sideways facing the boss, it's not going to head towards the boss. It's going to head directly out in front of you. So, but the thing is, Stampede, it's really strong. So
yeah,
I can see why there is a downside to the target potentially moving out. Because if it does stay in, you do reap the benefits. Like, it's a lot of damage, and it's also AoE damage now too. It's not like the current Stampede, where it summons copies of your other pets.
So no, I liked it a lot. I like the animation. You sort of feel a little bit like Tarzan or something, just calling out these beasts from the wild to come and attack and literally stampede like that. So I think it was a good change. I mean, compared to just calling the pets you had in your stable, and we have opportunities now to see more of our pets, our stabled pets make an appearance, as we're fighting. So yeah, I like this talent, and I really haven't played too much with the Killer Cobra or the aspect of the beast. I mean, I think I'm probably just going to go with Stampede for this level 100 tier.
Yeah, and it's a lot of these talent tiers too. They all seem to have like a set and forget choice. So for people who are just having trouble playing the game, or
exactly,
they have trouble multitasking, like boss mechanics and rotations. I'm not against having options like that.
No, I don't either.
As long as they're not all like the best choice, you know what I mean?
Yes, yeah. Anytime they have as you say, a best choice, you're going to gravitate to that instantly and not think twice. I mean, I guess back to one of their other points then, when they say customizing your gameplay to suit your tastes. I mean, I guess they've done that a little bit here with the talents. I mean, certainly I find that if you're struggling with focus a little bit, there are, some options you could choose, right? I mean, to help out with that.
Yeah.
Like Dire Stable, for example. Um, versus, say Way of the Cobra, where you could just go for damage. It is worth noting though that Way of the Cobra and Dire Frenzy kind of cancel each other out, if you will. They don't work well together. You definitely want to take those two together. Whereas Way of the Cobra Shot deals 10% increased damage for every pet or guardian you have active, whereas Dire Frenzy replaces Dire Beast, so you're not going to have as many pets floating around. So those two are, while you can take them both, it's not a good combination.
Yeah, and that's I think that's the only really Dire Frenzy. It does work with everything else. That's just like the one outlier where it's not optimal.
Mm-hmm.
And everything else that works with Dire Beast works with it. So that's good.
Yeah. And what's the other one on here? Big Game Hunter. We don't really talk about that much. Increase the critical strike chance of your auto shot and Cobra shot by 50% on targets who are above 80% health. I don't know about that one. I'm not really. That one didn't have a lot of appeal to me.
Yeah. So first of all, it's just a little bit of extra damage, not much, but from the crits. But I guess if you had a fight where there's constantly new targets spawning with a decent amount of health, it could be beneficial because those extra crits you're going to get more Dire Beast resets.
Right.
But it seems pretty specialized. I don't know. I think in most cases I'd want one of the other two.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, and like I said, Dire, and it maybe initially out when you're getting familiar with the new Beast Mastery, Dire Stable might actually be a good choice just because of the additional focus that you get.
Yeah.
And you combine that with say Chimera Shot again, it's just a good way to help keep you out of focus trouble initially. And we haven't really talked much about the level 90 tier where you've got Murder of Crows, Barrage, and then Volley, which if you haven't seen, Volley's different. I mean, then it's not the old Volley that you were used to back in Burning Crusade or Wrath of the Lich King. So I think you nailed it when you said it's basically the old incendiary ammo from Exotic Munitions. That's basically what they've done with it.
Pretty much, except now when you have it active, it consumes extra focus. So every time you activate Volley, and then every time you auto shot, your auto shot shoots some little extra arrows around the target and damages them for a little bit of damage, and it consumes 3 focus for every auto shot. And obviously you can turn it off if you don't want to consume that focus, but it's the set and forget option.
Right, and that's the thing. It's not an ability that you're gonna cast and be on a cooldown. It's something that you toggle on and off. So just something to think about. So you'd have some control over there, right? Especially if you're not in a AOE situation. Perhaps maybe you don't want to take advantage of it. And then Barrage and a Murder of Crows are what they are now, and I think they're both good talents. I think a Murder of Crows obviously lends itself, I think, to. Well, I mean, is it just single talent, or I mean, you get that reset on mobs that die, so it's not the worst thing if you've got a lot of targets around. But
yeah, I'd say it has uses for both single target and several targets, not like tons of targets, but it does like a ton of damage, like single target, so. It's definitely worth it for that. And Barrage is still the good all-around thing. It's good for everything.
Yeah, and that's always just been a fun ability. I mean, I always enjoyed Barrage. So, and just to refresh, now we've got these talents. You said we have come up with some things there's some good options, and there's definitely some things you could use situationally. The challenge is going to be resetting them, right? I mean. And I think there's going to be, what is the item now that they have? So when you're in a raid, I think you will have some opportunities to do it. I just think you'll need some sort of item in order to reset it. And I can't remember where it comes from, if it's a crafted item.
Yeah, it's crafted by scribes.
The scribes, that's right. So yeah, so scribes will be able to craft it. And I know they talked about it being such that you probably wouldn't be running around with stacks and stacks of it, but that it was going to be more group oriented. So
yeah, I mean, the fact that you can, if you're just out in the world doing stuff, if you queue into a dungeon or LFR, as soon as you get in there, you'll have an opportunity to switch your talents, so you don't have to worry about that. And as for normal raiding or mythic dungeons or something like that, I think it's just going to be expected that people have these things on them. It's just going to be kind of another gold sink.
yeah, I think so. I think you'll definitely have to do it. I mean, it's not like, I guess they're just going to make it a little harder to obtain, or than the tomes that we have now. But you'll probably want to plan to do it. And maybe, well, we'll just have to see. Maybe you won't be doing it for every single trash pull per se, but you'll probably want to, you're going to have to be able to tweak your talents for individual boss fights for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is definitely different with these talents. I mean, every Beast Mastery is very different. I'm still getting used to it. I still keep waiting to, proc or cast focus fire, and that stuff like that. It's just completely gone. So I think that's all we really have for today. I mean, we covered quite a bit, and come back in a couple weeks and see if there's any updates going on in Legion, and maybe do a preview. Maybe we'll take a look at what's going on with some of the simulations. Like I said, I don't think we'll have the Ask Mr. Robot folks on next show, but possibly we're looking at the show after that, so close to the end of July, and by then we may even know when the Legion pre-patch is going to arrive.
Well, 2 shows from now is, let's see.
I think it's the 24th, right? It's almost 2 shows. It's like a month from now.
I think the pre-patch will be out by then. Either it'll be out the week before that or that week, I think. So
yeah, I agree. They probably want to give close to a month, right, before before Legion launches.
Yeah, even longer, because it's kind of a bit of a bigger patch. Plus, you can play the Demon Hunter early and stuff like that.
True. All right. So, well, on that note, you have been listening to episode 240 of the Hunting Party Podcast. I'm Darkbrew from thebrewhall.com and the Brew Hall on Twitter.
I'm Bendak from Eyes of the Beast, Blizzard Watch, and Bendak Wow on Twitter.
All right. Check us out on iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, or add our RSS feed to your reader. And we'll have these links available on the show notes, or in the show notes. Let's see. If you have a question or topic you would like us to abstain from on the show, that's how true is that. Email us at huntingpartypodcast@gmail.com or send us a tweet at huntingpartypod. And on that note, stay thirsty, my friends. Remember to drink your dark brew lager.
Keep your eyes on the beast.
Is it my turn?
It is your turn.
Oh, darn.
I know, it's confusing. You have like...
For Azeroth, gnomes, and everything else. I'm really looking forward to the gnomes.
Yeah, the gnomes will be fun. I'm gonna have to figure out. I don't have at least on my main server, I don't have the character slot to do a gnome.
I'm doing making my dwarf over into gnome. So
I may do that. That might be what I consider, is taking one of my existing hunters and just converting, changing them into a gnome.
Did we miss a couple of questions from the chat there? That I just saw them.
Did. I was just noticing them now, and I apologize. So
yeah,
maybe
I was going to say something, and then you started the outro. So
you should have said
always
something.
Do them in
That's
post.
Okay. Well, we'll do them now, and then that'll be that. That's how we roll. From Glacier Wolf, he was saying, how much are the artifacts going to affect rotations, with abilities like rapid killing and bullseye as examples from marksman? That is a good question. I don't know. I mean, let me go pull up something here
Yeah.
to see the artifacts, artifact weapon calculator. And pull hunter, and I guess I should look at marksmanship since that's what you're asking about. Because I thought there wasn't a lot of instant, like there wasn't any
Your marksmanship is a
abilities
lot of,
per se.
yeah, it's a lot of adding extras to your existing.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of them adds to aim shot, one of them adds to mark shot, and then the bullseye that was mentioned. That's sort of like a replacement for kill shot, just in it's execute damage, but in a different way. Every attack you make against someone that's below 20%, you get a 3% chance, 3% increased critical strike chance that stacks up to 30 times. So I don't think that would really change your rotation. Same with rapid killing. That's when True Shot's active, your critical strike damage is increased. Again, I don't think that would actually change your rotation that much. That then any more than True Shot already would. You know what I mean? Obviously, with True Shot, you'll be getting off more aim shots, and you have more focus regeneration. But in terms of Beast Mastery, there is a little bit of change because there is one active ability that I guess changes your rotation a little bit. It's called Titan's Thunder. It's a 1 minute cooldown. You activate it. It's a single target DPS cooldown, and all of your pets that are active are Dire Beast, Hottie, and your main pet discharge electricity into their target. Over 8 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just something you probably, again, you want to stack with Bestial Wrath.
I would think so. I mean, part of the problem, the challenge with that is going to be, of course, I mean, do you want to save it for every Bestial Wrath, or, since the cooldown of Bestial Wrath can be reduced, they'll line up initially on pull, for example, but I don't know that they'll always line up.
Right. There'll probably be some kind of sweet spot where if Bestial Wrath has X seconds left on its cooldown, then you can hold off and wait,
Mm-hmm.
It'll probably be something like that.
Yeah, or I guess the chances of what Bestial Wrath would probably come off cooldown first, since that's the one that's having its CD reduced. So the question is, you're going to want to hold off Bestial Wrath and line it up with this as much as you can. I guess it depends on how close they end up being. I don't know.
I doubt you'd want to hold off on Bestial Wrath that much.
Mm-hmm.
And even Titan's Thunder, probably not that much. Maybe if like Bestial Wrath has, I don't know what the exact number will be, but let's say if Bestial Wrath has less than 20 seconds left, then maybe you should hold on to it or something like that. Other than the other two for Beast Mastery, they don't really change the rotation. They do add a lot though, like the Master of Beasts, which makes Hottie have kill command and Beast Cleave and Bestial Wrath. I guess that's another topic, but worth bringing up anyway, is that when you're leveling up your artifact, it's probably best to go for Master of Beasts first, just because it'll give you more overall damage than going for Titan's Thunder first. So there's two paths, there's like an upper path and a lower path. Yeah. The way I see it is that I just did like some rough testing with like simulation craft and stuff, and it seems like taking that upper path is going to be the most DPS. So you go up, you take Master of Beasts, and then you take Surge of the Storm God. The downside is you lose the single target damage from Titan's Thunder, but you get more overall damage taking this route, I think.
And that makes sense, and keep in mind too, where you'll have all of these regardless. But yeah, that does sound like a pretty sound path to start off with. It seems to make a lot of sense there. I like the fact that it turns Hattie into a better pet anyway.
Yeah.
So, do we have any other questions? Garbwire has asked, had he had time to look at the new transmog? Will the same male...
Some male becoming plate.
Oh, some male becoming plate and hunter only.
I think I saw something this week saying that they're going to make an effort to make sure that any appearances that are being affected by the male to plate change, you should still be able to keep them as a male appearance. I don't have the full details on that, but I know they're aware of it.
All right, yeah. So stay tuned on that. We're not sure. I know they posted something about the transmog system in general, and they're still making tweaks to what you can and can't be there. So it's they mentioned that at this point in time, it's still very much a work in progress. So, but their goal was, if you can transmog into it today, you should be able to transmog into it going into Legion. Was at least that's what their goal is. We'll see.
Yeah.
So we'll see if it makes it that way to live. But I do like the new transmog system. I think that's going to be nice. It's nothing else. It frees up so much storage space. It's unreal.
Almost everybody, when people ask, what are you most excited for? Transmog and bag space are like the top two things almost all the time. So I'm pretty sure they're aware that they really need to not mess that one up.
Yes. Well, I think they're okay with the bags.
I wonder what would be the next thing that fills up our bags, because I remember at the start of Warlords, I was like, oh my god, I have like 90 free bag slots, and now it's gone again.
Yep, exactly. It was like that. I mean, right? They came up with so much stuff to fill the bags up. I don't know. I mean, this is I don't know, given the fact that my bags seem to be filled up mainly with
that's true.
Gear. It's mostly transmog stuff though that's filling up my bags right now, so
yeah, I'm
a little less worried about it.
Dungeons and raids, like gold raids for gold and transmog stuff. I'm full. I can't. I'm just like sitting here just waiting with all this stuff just exploding out of every nook and cranny.
Yeah, plus a bunch of my characters have salvage crates that I have yet to open.
I hope that when they do that they're not going to nerf the salvage crates before they put in the transmog thing, because I've got tons of those things that I'm just waiting to, unlock.
Whenever
they're not nerfing. Sorry, they're not nerfing the existing ones that you already have. The new salvage crates will be nerfed.
Yeah. I knew they were changing something, and obviously, whenever that pre-patch goes is when, you would expect all those changes to go into effect.
Yeah, I just, I've got hundreds of boxes, so it's going to be like a loot day for me. So I just didn't want to have them all suddenly turn into junk boxes on me. That'd be sad.
It would be.
You know what I think will be worth decent gold on the auction house is bracers, because no one keeps bracers. And
I've got bracers.
And they need 100 of them to get that achievement.
Oh, that's right, the achievement. I was thinking about that too, because I always get rid of the bracers, right? They're right up there with like rings and necks, and because I think in very few instances do they matter in terms of appearance.
Well, you get some when you get all your old quest stuff that you never took.
Right.
So you'll get that. So it might not be hard if you've been playing WoW a long, long time.
Yeah, no, that's a good point there. And I guess the only other thing I would say is probably, hang on to all your gear until the pre-patch drops. You don't want to don't vendor stuff now. I mean, I'm not sure if it'll matter or not. It might, though. I mean, you don't want to take that risk.
Yeah,
it's of vendoring some tier gear or something. And
the hard part is getting it on the right character, because if it's on my cloth wear but it's a leather item, then it doesn't count. So I have to make sure that I loot it on my my brogue or something. So that's helping me a little bit, because there's no point in me keeping a really awesome plate glove or legs, if I'm on my hunter. So it's not going to count.
Yeah, someone who only really plays hunters is kind of at a disadvantage there for getting these achievements because
True.
I mean, I've collected a lot of transmog, but I still only have like I think on the PTR I saw like I had like 70 or 80 of some of the slots, but a lot of the slots were less than that. So just because I haven't done much questing on other armor classes.
Yeah, for hunters, I'm obviously in good shape. Yeah, the other classes, not as much.
There's probably a lot of old crafted stuff maybe that you could collect from old sets of things. Or maybe not. That's a good question.
I think if you want the achievements fast, you just go on like if you can get yourself like a decently leveled like cloth or plateware, and then just go to the auction house and buy BOEs and equip them.
Yeah. Well, I think we've covered most of the questions for today, so we've done the outro. So I think we're pretty much done. I do have to get rolling here myself, so.
All right.
Have a good one.
All right,
thanks,
all right.
everyone,
Well,
for
we'll
coming.
see you next time. Probably have a full house then, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
All right.
Okay,
See
see
ya.
ya.
Life stealer, that's just the cost of being awesome sauce. A dues payer, a boss slayer. I rock out with my lockout Viper to cheetah to dragon hawk. No time to waste, cause I can jump shot. BM, MM, and SB. I can rock out any tree. Never worried about my threat, cause I've got FD and misdirect. Catching loose mobs in my traps. I never miss, cause I am hit capped. Cause I'm the hunter, not the marked. I'm the fighter, not the spark. I'm the kiter, not the kite. I'll top meters every fight. Raining and game dealing death. Just me, my gun, and my trusty bed. Now let's begin with Illidan, Osirian, and Gil'jadan, Magdamar, Asgalor, Gruul, Cthulhu, and Razorgore, Onyxia to Ragnar.